And we're live. It's Friday Facts with Ian Batra and
Laura Batra
of the Batra team, coming at you live from Willow Glen today in our backyard with our wild tomato patch that is about ready to be removed. Without further ado, Laura, give them the facts.
All right. This week, Silicon Valley Real Estate, Santa Clara County, 345 new listings, 94 went contingent into contract, 48 price reductions, 16 price increases, 952 total active listings with 1,468 that are either contingent in contract or pending in contract. So we're looking at a sale to list price ratio of 106.1%. So we've dropped about a percentage point, but we're still above that 106 mark. So 6% over. We have it's 1.3 million average sales price. So that's up from last week. And that's also reflected in an increase in the median sales price, which we're looking at just over $1 million at $1,030,000. And then we still are at 10 days to sale, median. And again, we look at the median number because we have some inventory out on market that sits for a while. So rather than pulling that and having it skew the average, we're looking at where that middle of the bell curve is, as always.
Yeah, you always have some unsellable inventory, houses with issues, things that can't sell, houses that are grossly overpriced, or, sitting on the on-ramp of the freeway type of houses, and those will throw off the data. So we have to we want to kind of exclude some of that data and look at the more accurate when we talk about where the bulk of it's going to move.
So let's talk about a little bit of what's happening. We've been talking about this low inventory market and how we had seen some drops. So now that we're looking at numbers of houses that are in contract, we're seeing the results of the last few weeks being at a pretty low point in the market. Again, we're seeing that rise in the average sales price to 1.3. We're seeing the rise in the median sales price as well for where the bulk are selling. And we've seen that increase in the sale to list price ratio. And again, that's an average. So when we look at a sale to list, in some areas it might be significantly higher, whereas others might be tracking a little lower depending on where you are.
So from a hyper local level, we are seeing, we are definitely feeling in many of the local markets, and a variety of price points. It's pretty strong out there. I mean, I showed homes in the $3 million range in Los Gatos yesterday to a client, and at a couple of houses there were lines of people trying to get into these homes. One of them that had a wait was listed at $2.75 million. I then left that appointment, went off to meet another client who was looking in the $1 million to $1.2 million range, and we were the first ones to a house. By the time we got out of this house, of course, we're hitting the after work rush. There was a line of multiple agents and people trying to show the house that we were looking at in that price range. So from that level, we are definitely seeing that the activity level, the buyers very active in the market across price ranges. Mm-hmm. And obviously because at the Batra team we do work with clients all the way from entry level price points all the way up to the multi-million-dollar level, both buyers and sellers. We have that perspective where we can really see what the market's doing across price ranges. And I got to be honest, we're not really working with anybody at this moment, actively claiming this moment in the 5 to 10 million range. I do understand that price point from agents I know who have been showing properties and listing properties in that price range currently, that is feeling a little slower. But pretty much, anything 3 million and under that is priced well is cranking.
Yeah, and again, we're looking at this low inventory situation, and when you look at it as a whole, analytics and statistics can be skewed any number of ways, which was why we try to look at the most reasonable, most logical way of looking at the data. But when you really look at it, the same number of units approximately are going into contract that were this time last year. But what we're seeing is because of the reduced inventory, we're seeing those increases to prices. The supply just can't keep up with demand.
So we got this, essentially, I think the way that sounds like to me when I hear that is same amount of buyers. The buyer demand never went away, but we have less houses to sell. So So the demand for houses has gone up, and the buyers are just coming out and they're fighting. So the same amount of buyers are going after far less houses, which of course the supply and demand is going to drive the prices up.
Yeah, and we're seeing that across the board. And we're even seeing in types of housing that may not traditionally be as in demand, things like condos or townhomes where a lot of people would prefer a single family. A lot of folks are really considering those as options who might not have been in markets with more inventory or previous years, simply because there aren't a lot of options open in the lower price points.
Well, and we run into an inventory challenge across the board. We're noticing even just within our own client base, we have this issue with many of our clients where they may own a townhome or a condo or a smaller single family, a 2-bedroom single family or a 3-bed, 2-bath, and they're looking to upsize. And the challenge becomes, because the market is tight and inventory is rough across all price points, you have different types of move-up buyers. We have move-up buyers who are trying to go from a $600,000 or $700,000 condo or townhome into maybe a $1.2 million single family. But because the $1.2 million single families are so tight, they can't buy into that market, which means that they don't list their condo or townhome. So we're shy of that inventory. We also have clients who are looking to move up from maybe something in that $1 million, $2 million, $5 million single family range, and they want to move to a luxury market. They want to move into Saratoga, or they want to move into Los Gatos or Los Altos. And they're at that point, basically Apple stock's done well or Google stock's done well.
They're at ready, the entry level in a luxury market, basically.
They're ready to make the jump to the next level, and we're not able to do that movement. And we have a shortage of price ranges. Just like there's a shortage of quality townhomes and condos in the $500 to $1 million range, and a shortage of single families in the $1 million to $1.5 million range. There's a shortage of great inventory in the $2 to $4 million range in Los Gatos and Saratoga, Monte Sereno in Los Altos and Palo Alto, and any market that someone might want to trade up from your Campbell, Willow Glen, your usual, your markets that are kind of in the middle of the market. Blossom Valley up, and that's another one too. People trying to trade up from Blossom Valley. Blossom Valley is hurting for inventory as well.
So it's a little tight for buyers right now. It's very tight for buyers right now. It's a little bit of a challenge for sellers. If you know that you're going to be moving out of the area, or you're going to be moving into a type of housing where it's going to be downsizing and it's not that entry level single family, but maybe you're looking at downsizing to a condo, downsizing to a townhome, there's just never been a better time to sell, honestly. Yeah. So if you know that that's a move that you're going to be making in the next few years, obviously we don't have a crystal ball, but the market it's a really good time to sell if you know you're going to be moving out of the area, or you're going to be making that significant downsize.
Essentially what Laura's saying is, if you have a single family home, condo, townhome, any property in the Silicon Valley that you may want to sell, let's have a conversation, because obviously we have to have a plan on what you're going to do, because buying is difficult. But if you're thinking you do want to sell that property, I tell people, if you don't want to own that property in the next few years, because markets always shift, then now's the time to think about it, because there has never been a better time in the history of the Silicon Valley to maximize your sales price on your home. But at the same time, that does come with that warning that we're going to have to figure out what we're going to do. If you're moving out of the area, super easy. But if you're trying to stay in the Silicon Valley, upsize, downsize, it takes strategy, and we'll talk about it. We'll come up with a plan.
And by that token, if you're maybe not local, or maybe you have investment property and you're looking to 1031 into other areas that aren't as tight, that's a good conversation to have at this point as well. So anything where you might strategically maybe moving money or property into outlying areas that maybe are not as high demand as here, it's a good time to take a look at that.
And you maximize your dollar. The returns, cap rates, you sell a home here for $1.5 million. You could take that $1.5 million and turn that into massive amounts of rent in another area if you're going to move that money around. So actually, from a income standpoint, you can definitely maximize that by moving your money out of the area. So that is definitely an option. And the 1031 exchange, at least for now, there are some talks about that may not always be an option, but 1031 exchange, deferring your taxes on rental properties, is still available to you. So we can talk, and we're here. We're happy to consult.
And if you're looking at potentially moving that money into other areas where you may have the ability to move it into multi-units, we have access to networks of a lot of other very successful realtors who can guide you through that process in areas where your cap rates might be better. So just throwing that out there.
Okay. So this has been Friday Facts. Happy Friday, Ian and Laura Batra of the Batra team. We will have Andrew and Zahara back with us next week on Friday Facts. They've been busy selling houses and helping our clients, so they haven't been on the videos in a little while, but we'll get them back. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. It's been Friday Facts, and we'll talk to you in a week.
Have a great week.